It's a familiar scene in many households. Your child, perhaps tired or testing boundaries, responds to you with a challenging tone or a dismissive remark. Instinctively, you might react with a sharper voice, believing you're instilling a crucial lesson about respect. Yet, precisely at that critical juncture, groundbreaking developmental research reveals a paradox. You've unwittingly become the very mirror reflecting the disrespectful behavior you so earnestly wish to eradicate. This isn't a commentary on your parenting intentions, which are undoubtedly good and guided by a desire for well-behaved children. Rather, it delves into the fascinating world of neuroscience, specifically the role of mirror neurons. These remarkable brain cells represent a hidden, yet profoundly powerful, mechanism through which your immediate reaction, your correction, is unconsciously absorbed and processed by your child, effectively becoming their operational template for future interactions. Indeed, the emotional resonance of your reaction often transmits a far more potent and memorable lesson than any carefully chosen words ever could. Over the course of the next few minutes, we will illuminate the primary misstep that inadvertently transforms well-meaning parents into unintentional instructors of disrespect. We'll delve into the compelling brain science underpinning this phenomenon and then equip you with a practical 4-step framework designed to genuinely embody and model authentic respect. Our aim is to illustrate how to foster profound behavioral transformation, not through rigid control or punitive measures, but by cultivating deep, meaningful connection. Imagine this common scenario. You've endured a particularly grueling day, the kind that saps your energy. You make a perfectly reasonable, seemingly innocuous request of your child: please put away your toys. A simple neuve directive. Yet, instead of immediate compliance, you're met with a defiant huff, followed by a barely audible resentful murmur: why do I always have to do everything? Instantly, a knot of tension forms in your chest. That distinct tone, that undeniable attitude, prickles at your nerves. Before conscious thought fully registers, your own voice, almost reflexively, sharpens, delivering a stern retort: listen here, that is absolutely not the way you speak to me. This sharp, immediate response is often deeply instinctive, a protective reflex. You're not consciously aiming to be harsh or unkind, quite the opposite. Your fundamental intention is to impart a vital lesson in respect, to unequivocally demonstrate that such disrespectful communication towards a parent is simply unacceptable. However, here lies the critical, often overlooked irony. In that very moment, as you deliver your lesson, your child is inadvertently absorbing and internalizing the manner of your communication, learning it from you. The prevalent societal assumption typically places the genesis of disrespect squarely on the child's shoulders, framing it as an intrinsic behavioral problem, a discipline deficit, something demanding correction through swift consequences or the imposition of rigid boundaries. Yet, a nuanced perspective offered by extensive developmental research paints a strikingly different picture. It reveals that the true origin point lies in the emotional model consistently presented by adults, particularly during instances of interpersonal conflict. Therefore, when your reaction to a child's disrespectful behavior is delivered with a similar cutting or disrespectful tone, you are, regrettably, not transmitting the intended lesson. Instead, you are inadvertently teaching a far more insidious one: that when confronted with annoyance or irritation, the appropriate response is to elevate your voice, to wield a sharp, acerbic edge in your language, to employ tactics that diminish and belittle the other person. Is it any wonder, then, that we frequently find ourselves perplexed when they echo these very behaviors back to us? Let us be unequivocally clear: this discussion is not an exercise in assigning blame. It is an invitation to cultivate a deeper understanding of a powerful, yet often invisible, psychological mechanism that functions beneath the surface of conscious awareness. The moment this dynamic becomes clear, the clarity it brings is profoundly transformative, altering your entire perspective on parent-child interactions. Thus, we arrive at the recurring pattern meticulously documented by developmental psychologists across countless parent-child dynamics. The single most pervasive and influential error that subtly yet effectively instructs children in the ways of disrespect is this: demanding respect as an entitlement, rather than consciously and consistently demonstrating it through your own actions and demeanor. At first glance, this revelation might strike many as profoundly counterintuitive. Naturally, the deeply ingrained belief persists that children should inherently respect their parents. The importance of parental authority is undeniable, and clearly defined boundaries are absolutely essential for a child's healthy development. However, it is precisely at this juncture that we must introduce a crucial distinction, one that has the power to fundamentally alter everything you understand about raising respectful children. The simple truth is this: genuine respect cannot be commanded or forced into existence through sheer will or authoritarian pronouncements. Cutting-edge neuroscience research, specifically focusing on the intricate workings of mirror neurons, provides compelling evidence as to why this is the case. When your attempts to elicit respect are primarily conveyed through a demanding tone, through escalating confrontation, or through the assertion of raw power, your child's developing brain isn't internalizing the authentic lesson you aim to impart. Instead, they are absorbing a very different message, one about power dynamics. They are learning that the individual who wields greater control or authority is entitled to exhibit disrespectful behavior. In essence, they are taught that respect in this context equates to fear or submission, rather than genuine admiration, esteem, or regard. And here resides the absolutely critical insight that underpins this entire phenomenon. A child's brain is exquisitely designed and neurologically wired to mirror and internalize what they observe, far more powerfully than what they merely hear. Consider these profound implications. If you maintain a composed and tranquil demeanor even as you firmly establish necessary limits, they will naturally internalize and adopt that same calm assertiveness. Conversely, if you habitually raise your voice or resort to yelling when feeling frustrated, they will inevitably learn that an elevated volume directly correlates with power and influence. If your chosen method for expressing disappointment is sarcasm, then sarcasm will, without a doubt, become a prominent feature in their own lexicon for navigating conflict. This intricate mirroring pattern is not a conscious choice, it's an automatic, almost primal response. The underlying mechanism is often invisible, subtly operating in virtually every single interaction you share with your child, quietly shaping their every response and emotional regulation strategy. But that invisibility ends now, with this understanding. So let's explore the precise neurobiological events unfolding within your child's brain during these pivotal exchanges. Those remarkable specialized brain cells, known as mirror neurons, which have evolved over millennia to facilitate human social learning and empathy, become intensely active the moment they perceive and process your emotional state. These neurons don't simply register the semantic content of your words, they absorb the entire package of how you communicate it, the subtle nuances of your tone, the minute tension in your facial expressions, the broader narrative conveyed by your body language. Extensive developmental research unequivocally demonstrates that this observed emotional patterning is indelibly imprinted, forming their foundational template for navigating their own feelings and social interactions. In essence, your capacity for emotional regulation, or indeed, its absence, directly shapes and becomes their own. Therefore, even when your intention is to convey a perfectly legitimate and crucial lesson about appropriate manners or respectful boundaries, if the delivery of that lesson inadvertently embodies the very disrespect you are striving to correct, it is precisely that emotional delivery that will be encoded and internalized as the primary learning. From a child's developing, albeit logical perspective, the reasoning is elegantly simple, if profoundly problematic. If you, the adult, are permitted to adopt a sharp or dismissive tone when experiencing upset or frustration, then why should they be denied the same privilege? If you consistently disregard or minimize their expressions of frustration while simultaneously demanding they acknowledge and respect your own, the implicit lesson they absorb is crystal clear: it is power. Not an underlying principle of mutual respect that ultimately dictates who is entitled to receive and command respect in any given interaction. It's imperative to understand that these dynamics are not unfolding because you are inherently failing as a parent. On the contrary, you are likely engaging in these patterns precisely because you care so deeply about nurturing respectful, well-adjusted human beings. The fundamental challenge lies in the fact that this powerful mechanism of emotional modeling operates almost entirely beneath the threshold of conscious awareness. However, the truly empowering insight is this: once you fully grasp and understand this hidden process, you are then equipped with the knowledge and capacity to consciously redirect it. And that, precisely, is the transformative journey we are about to embark upon. Allow me to vividly illustrate how this pattern manifests in real time, in the everyday tapestry of family life. Dedicated research teams, meticulously observing and analyzing countless parent-child interactions, have documented thousands upon thousands of exchanges eerily similar to the one I'm about to present. This is a composite example, meticulously crafted to represent the recurring dynamics developmental psychologists observe with striking regularity. Picture this: it's 7:45 a.m., the chaotic heart of the morning routine. A parent, perhaps already feeling the pressure of the clock, asks their 10-year-old to prepare for school. The child, perhaps engrossed or feeling defensive, retorts, "I'm getting ready." The parent, perceiving this as defiance or simply inaccuracy, counters with a firm, "No, you're clearly not.
You resti standing there in your pajama.
The child, pushed to their limit, snaps back with an exasperated, "God, why are you always on my case?" And then the parent's response, laden with a palpable sigh of weariness and frustration, "How many times do I have to tell you?" That weary, exasperated edge in their voice, that unmistakable tone that eloquently communicates, "I am utterly done with this discussion, and frankly with you in this moment." When parents participating in these insightful studies are given the unique opportunity to review recordings of their own interactions, a startling and consistent pattern invariably surfaces. The child's cutting sarcasm, their palpable exasperation, their dismissive tone, these aren't isolated incidents. They are, in fact, a powerful and undeniable echo. They are the parent's own tones from previous exchanges, reverberating back, not as a literal word-for-word repetition, but as a profound pattern-for-pattern reflection. And it is precisely at this point of profound recognition that the true breakthrough in understanding and intervention occurs. Once parents make the conscious and courageous shift, moving away from a futile attempt to merely control external behaviors, and instead committing to authentically modeling the very respect they aspire to see, the entire dynamic begins to transform. This transformation isn't instantaneous or flawless, but it is undeniably steady and progressive. This is because when the fundamental emotional model provided by the parent undergoes a change, the child's internal template for interaction also inevitably shifts. The sharp edges of communication begin to soften, precisely because the emotional source, the parent, has softened and consciously adjusted their approach. So the crucial question naturally arises, in the demanding landscape of daily parenting, how does one effectively model respect, particularly when your child seems intent on rigorously testing every single boundary you've established? The answer lies in a meticulously developed framework, thoroughly grounded in extensive research on emotional regulation and the principles of secure attachment, which we will now explore step by step. Step 1. Cultivate the invaluable habit of pausing before you react. This means, quite literally, taking one conscious, deep breath of full, intentional inhalation and exhalation before you utter a single word. This seemingly simple, solitary pause is a powerful circuit breaker, designed to interrupt the automatic, knee-jerk emotional reaction. Cutting-edge neuroscience research vividly illustrates why this is so effective. It typically takes approximately 6 seconds for your prefrontal cortex, the sophisticated, reasoning, and rational part of your brain, to fully engage and catch up with your amygdala, which functions as your brain's primal emotional alarm system. That single intentional breath effectively buys you those precious, crucial seconds. You are not obligated to respond instantaneously. Instead of defaulting to an immediate, often regretful reaction, you grant yourself a precious couple of seconds to deliberately choose your response. Step 2. Focus on naming the underlying emotion, rather than solely criticizing the outward behavior. For example, instead of a blunt and often ineffective command like, "Stop being rude," try a more empathetic and constructive approach. You might say, "I can clearly see that you're feeling frustrated right now, and I understand that. However, that tone of voice is not acceptable." Or, "You sound very angry at this moment, and I genuinely want to listen to what you have to say, but I need you to express it using different words." Herein lies the profound significance of this approach. By acknowledging and validating their internal emotional experience, what they feel, while simultaneously establishing a clear and firm boundary around the manner in which they choose to express that emotion, you are actively imparting critical lessons in emotional literacy. You are teaching them that all feelings are fundamentally valid and deserve recognition, yet certain actions and expressions inherently have necessary limits. This nuanced understanding is the very bedrock of developing robust emotional intelligence, a skill that will serve them throughout their lives. Furthermore, extensive research consistently demonstrates that this method significantly curtails the escalation of conflicts, fostering more constructive resolutions. Step 3. Actively demonstrate and embody the very respect you wish to cultivate in your child. This involves consciously employing a steady, even voice. It requires maintaining appropriate, confident eye contact. And most importantly, it means remaining calm and composed, yet unequivocally firm. This approach is not synonymous with being soft or permissive, quite the contrary. It signifies being strong, authoritative, and resolute without resorting to harshness, intimidation, or demeaning tactics. You absolutely can, and should say no when necessary. You can, and must, uphold crucial boundaries. And you are perfectly capable of following through with predetermined consequences. The crucial distinction lies in how you accomplish these things. You do so with your own dignity, and crucially their dignity, completely intact. Rigorous developmental studies consistently reveal that children don't merely model authority as an abstract concept, they meticulously observe and internalize the style of authority being wielded.
Step 4. Embrasse ce transformative power of repair.
This means actively addressing and mending moments after they happen. It's an undeniable truth that you will occasionally lose your cool because emotional regulation is a learned skill, not a state of perfection. When such moments occur, make the conscious decision to go back and address it. You might say something profoundly impactful like, "I raised my voice earlier, and that was not okay. I was feeling very frustrated in that moment, but that is not the way I want to communicate with you, and I apologize for that." Extensive research on secure attachment consistently demonstrates that these acts of repair are, in many ways, even more potent and formative than mere prevention. They powerfully model accountability, teaching your child that genuine respect encompasses not just the avoidance of mistakes, but the courage and integrity to own them, learn from them, and make amends. Collectively, these 4 steps work in concert to construct something absolutely essential for healthy development: emotional safety. And let us be clear, emotional safety is the undisputed bedrock upon which genuine, heartfelt respect is built. When children experience an environment where they feel truly safe, emotionally secure, and understood, they no longer feel the compulsive need to fight for power or engage in endless resistance. Instead, their default shifts from oppositional defiance to collaborative responsiveness, driven not by apprehension or fear, but by an inherent sense of trust and connection. At this point, a very natural and frequently voiced concern might be formulating in your mind: if I don't explicitly demand respect, won't my child simply take advantage of me, walking all over my authority? Won't they mistakenly conclude that disrespectful behavior carries no consequences whatsoever? This legitimate apprehension arises consistently in discussions about respectful parenting, and it brilliantly illuminates a widespread misconception regarding the true essence of what modeling respect actually entails. Let me clarify unequivocally: modeling respect is absolutely not about eliminating necessary boundaries. It does not imply a wholesale avoidance of consequences, nor does it advocate for a permissive parenting style. What it does signify is the ability to uphold firm, consistent limits and expectations without ever compromising the dignity of either yourself or your child. You retain every right to implement meaningful consequences. You can still assert with unwavering resolve and a calm demeanor, "You made the choice not to listen to my request, and as a result, screen time for today is now finished. We will have another opportunity to try again tomorrow." You unequivocally remain the authoritative figure in your home. The fundamental shift is in the delivery of your authority and expectations. The essential boundary itself remains firmly in place. And here lies the truly critical differentiating distinction: when children feel respected even in moments of correction or discipline, a profound shift occurs. They naturally cease their incessant struggle for power. The compelling need to assert themselves through defiant resistance dissipates. Extensive studies on various parenting styles consistently demonstrate that authoritative approaches characterized by a powerful combination of high warmth, empathy, and responsiveness, coupled with high structure and clear expectations, consistently yield significantly superior long-term outcomes for children compared to purely authoritarian approaches, which prioritize high control but offer minimal warmth or emotional connection. The reason is simple and profound: respect that is coercively built upon fear is ephemeral, it evaporates the very instant your watchful eye is removed. Conversely, respect that is nurtured and cultivated through genuine connection and understanding becomes deeply internalized. It transforms into an inner moral compass for the child, guiding their choices and behaviors from within, rather than merely enforcing temporary, superficial compliance. And ultimately, that is the enduring, authentic form of respect that truly lasts, extending far beyond the confines of childhood and into a child's adult life. So let's bring our discussion full circle, reinforcing the central revelation: the single most impactful, yet often overlooked mistake that inadvertently teaches children to be disrespectful is the act of demanding respect as an absolute right, rather than consistently and consciously demonstrating it through one's own words and actions. When you steadfastly model patience, demonstrate impeccable emotional regulation, and embody calm, confident authority, particularly during challenging moments of conflict, your child internalizes a profound truth: that respect is not derived from brute power or dominance, rather it is fundamentally principle-based, rooted in mutual regard and integrity. And if, as you reflect on these patterns, you find yourself recognizing your own past behaviors, please understand that this is absolutely not a sign of failure. On the contrary, it is a powerful moment of emergent awareness, a crucial first step towards transformative change. Let's be candid, every single parent, at some point, has experienced that regrettable moment where they've snapped, raised their voice, or reacted in ways they later wish they hadn't. The pertinent question, therefore, isn't whether you've ever done it. The truly defining question is what you choose to do next. Your child doesn't require flawless perfection. Such an expectation is unrealistic and unattainable. What they truly need and profoundly benefit from is consistency in your effort and your approach. And the truly empowering aspect of emotional modeling is its universal applicability and effectiveness at virtually any age. Whether your child is a spirited 3-year-old or a rapidly developing 13-year-old, every subsequent interaction presents a fresh, invaluable opportunity to consciously model something fundamentally different, something more aligned with the respect you wish to foster. Now, an important insight to consider: when you consciously begin to implement these strategies and consistently strive to remain calm, an initial, somewhat paradoxical reaction might occur. Your child may actually melt down or exhibit more intense, challenging behaviors at first. This isn't a sign of failure. It's a natural and expected phase as they rigorously test the authenticity and consistency of this new, unfamiliar pattern. They're implicitly asking, is this new approach real? Will it last? And for those moments when that inevitable tantrum erupts, whether it's over the wrong cup, a beloved broken toy, or some other seemingly minor perceived injustice, there exists a remarkably effective Korean method that has been shown to de-escalate such situations in approximately 60 seconds. This technique doesn't involve immediately fixing the problem or yielding to demands. Rather, it hinges on implementing a strategy that is wonderfully, almost delightfully, counterintuitive. I've meticulously detailed this powerful method in the accompanying video. I highly recommend watching it next, because, let's face it, your child's next big meltdown is very likely just around the corner, perhaps even later today.